Hello, everyone. This is Jennifer Hill, and I'm with the Huron Valley Chamber of Commerce, and I'm really excited about today's seminar series. It's with Dr. Paula Ruffin from the New Hudson Chiropractic Wellness Center, and she's going to talk to us about how to stock a perfect pantry. And we're noticing that there are no men on this. So take it away, Paula. Thank you.
Yeah, so we were just saying too that the men rely on their women to take care of these things. So, hey, if that's what it takes to keep them healthy for longer in our lives, then it is what it is, right? So thanks for that intro, Jen. I am so happy to be here. I've been so excited to give this presentation. This is actually one of my favorites because it starts to really get people thinking. I've got some great stories about how giving this presentation has actually changed people's lives. They will take this information, and you will take this information, I hope, and you're going to go back to your families. I'm going to give you a strategy on what you need to do to clean it up and get the good stuff in. And listen, people are like, hey, I'm a foodie though. And trust me, I am a foodie too. So nothing that I teach you is going to feel like your life is being stripped of all of the things you love. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up here. And let's see, we're going to do.
Paula, would you like me to mute everyone or just keep it open?
Oh, yeah, you know what? Go ahead and mute everybody for now. And then you guys, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. And then we can, and actually, Jen, if you want to handle chat questions, that way it doesn't get too overrun. And hold on here, from the beginning. Come on, there we go. Okay, can y'all see that okay? Got it, okay. Okay, so the biggest thing is being able to read labels. And when we look at what is in our food, oftentimes you're looking at food labels and they look really pretty from the front. And what those labels are designed to do is to get you to buy. And they do a really good job. And listen, I've been duped too. So when they put up something really pretty, or they make it look like there's a plant on the front and then it has garbage in the back, you think it's healthy because they put a leaf on the front. So the biggest thing I want you to do, and I'm going to help you understand this, is read labels. And of course, that's a flash forward. I always preface this by saying, if you want a whole thing on label reading, we can do that too, because that's a big rabbit hole to go down. Then this is really mostly focused on the things that I want you to know you should have on hand at all times, as well as things that you should never have in your pantry, because those things are killing you very slowly. Well, you know, I always ask people, if you know you should be eating healthy, then why don't you? And oftentimes people, you know, we just can't help it. And there are reasons. We have food addictions, and food addictions are a very real thing. Drug, alcohol abuse, it hits the same centers of the brain. Food is no different when it comes to that. So we have to be able to recognize and understand where those food addictions come from. Food allergies and sensitivities and gut imbalance, I'm going to put those two right together. Because oftentimes when I'm dealing with somebody who has those things going on, if we take candida, for example, if you have an overgrowth in candida, which is basically a yeast infection in your gut, you can have things like chronic sinusitis, you can have chronic yeast infections, you could have rashes, you can have, constant drippiness. It can cause breathing problems. There's a whole slew of things that will happen in this when that gut bacteria is altered like that. Well, when you've got this candida, these little yeast bugs in there, they love sugar. So people who are like, I love my carbs. So who's a carbaholic? Raise your hand. We all love our carbs, right? You go to the restaurant and they put a hot thing of bread in front of you. I mean, no one can deny that, right? So those little bugs in there, they love sugar. So when you have sugar cravings, that should be an indication to you that you've got something going on digestive wise that's preventing your body from not having the craving. So they'll send a signal to the brain, we want to eat, and that is, they want you to eat sugar. So that is coming from your gut when you get those cravings. So think about that as we move forward in this. Chemical sensitivities can also prevent us for a very similar reason. Chemical sensitivities will also throw off the gut balance, hormonal imbalance, insulin resistance. Listen, if you've got low self-esteem, lack of willpower, stress, anxiety, depression, let me just get rid of those 4 bullet points and let's just call it COVID, because everybody's in this space right now where we're overeating, we're over drinking, we're not taking care of ourselves, we are stressed out, and that is also going to change how we eat. But the good news is that as we go through this, you're gonna look at your pantry and you're gonna say, okay, I bought these things because I was stressed out. We're gonna replace those. So there's always good replacements that we can have. So even if you are a stress eater, let's talk about what can you eat that is going to not damage your health. Like, if you just reach for the first box of cookies that jumps in your cart. So things that you should never, ever have on hand. And gang, I'm going to give you my email at the end. So if you want me to drop the notes to this and you just want to pay attention and not take notes, you're welcome. You just send me an email. I'll send you the notes to this. And I'm going to send you these lists as well so that you have them. So things that we should never have, processed foods. And I heard something today, I saw a commercial today, and it said, and somebody can drop it in the chat if they saw this. I saw it for the first time and I was like, I can't even believe that. It's still processed food. It's chicken nuggets for kids made out of plants, breaded, that looked like chicken nuggets. And I'm like, that's still processed food. I don't care that it came from a plant. What did they have to do to that thing to get it ground up in a mold it together, and then deep fry it and throw it into a bag so that you guys can feed it to your kids? It is still processed food. So those, if you're like, I'm a vegetarian and you're eating tofu dogs and, every other processed food, recognize that. It's still not okay. We're just talking about, we want to eat real food here. So I digress on that slightly because that just stuck in my head and I wanted to bring that to your attention today. The other big thing is any helper foods and seasoning packets. So if you use taco seasoning, seasonings to make your own salad dressings, any of those things in a packet, they have chemicals in them, specifically if you jump down to bullet points, MSG or monosodium glutamate, which is actually labeled as a neurotoxin. So what that means, it is toxic to your nerves. So think migraines, headaches, depression, joint pain, inflammation that you can't get rid of, gut and digestive health, even certain cancers. If you have, actually all cancers are derived from overtoxicity. So think of MSG. MSG is your enemy. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back. So when you go back to the processed foods list, so anything in a box with a long ingredient list. So if you're buying something from a box, that is critical. You got to be able to flip that over and know what that's saying to you and know what those ingredients are. I don't particularly like bleached or enriched because bleached is exactly what it is. So, if you buy bleached flour, that's what it's been bleached to turn right, to be white. Enriched means they have fortified it with synthetic vitamins. So, just take regular vitamins that are healthy and buy the natural stuff, right? So I still buy flour. I don't buy enriched flour. I usually buy the unbleached version, and I'll usually buy something like the King Arthur's or some good organic grain like that. So think about it in that respect. Is that you want to get it to the lowest common denominator of how pure and healthy is this that you're buying.
Excuse me, Paula, did you see there's a question from Linda about silicone dioxide and the sodium EDTA?
Hold on one second. Let me go back one here. I think I mentioned that a little bit later, but what's the specific question?
She just wanted to know what it is, and she's seen it and, just wanted more information on it. And if you don't want me to, but I won't interrupt you anymore if you don't want me to.
No, that's fine because I go kind of fast. So if we have questions as we go and you wanna just pop in, perfect. I'm good with that.
Okay.
So silicon dioxide is I think it's an anti-caking agent. And think about this, and I mention it later, so we'll just mention this right now, that if you have questions and you're like, what is this ingredient? What is that ingredient? If it doesn't sound like food, it's not. So that means it's not okay. And then the sodium EDTA, I think that's another preservative as well. And again, people who go on low sodium diets, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here too, which I tend to do a lot, so forgive me. But think about it, it's sodium dioxide, sodium EDTA, monosodium glutamate, sodium nitrite, sodium nitrate. So people who are like, I got high blood pressure, I'm on a low sodium diet, and all they do is eliminate the salt shaker. But they're eating bacon and they're eating, you know, products that have all of these other additives in it. It's not okay. And how many people do you know who are on high blood pressure medication with high blood pressure, who don't eat salt, who are still on high blood pressure medication with high blood pressure? They never get off. So taking the salt shaker off the table is not the answer. In fact, you're going to see we should be eating more salt. And as we go through that to our yeses, you will always have salt, but in a healthy manner. These things that I'm going through, everything that I mentioned on this Never Not No Way list, they are highly inflammatory. Blood pressure is a product of inflammation in the cardiovascular system. So we've got to be able to get the inflammation down. And that doesn't mean just taking a salt shaker off of the table. Does that make sense, you guys? You can drop that in. Okay, so I did pull up how to, I did pull up the chat here so I can see this too. Yes, Jen, I'll send it to you as well, but it's, I'm gonna have, people can also drop me an email as well. What does it mean when you have a chip craving? So like, Sue, do you like super salty stuff? Because I'm a salty girl too. And that can be an electrolyte imbalance. Let's see, uncured meats like bacon, hot dogs, etc. I have to tell you, uncured bacon is on the list of things to have, okay? Because when you buy it in the right manner, so you stay away from all of the, and we're jumping ahead on that, but it's all right, we'll just answer as we go. Are you guys okay if I do that? Can you give me a thumbs up or something? Okay, cool. So when you have things that are heavy in flavor, so uncured bacon, you know, uncured meats, that like ham, an uncured ham, you can get a ton of flavor out of a little bit of that. And that's what I like about that. So, okay, yeah, let's have a little bit of bacon. And of course, this talk isn't particularly for vegetarians, and perhaps I should put one together, but this is just really for the majority of people who are looking to eat healthier and get the chemicals out of their foods. So you can use a little bit of uncured bacon, chop that up, fry that up with, you know, onions and garlic, and, you know, put some rice and peas and carrots, and you've got fried rice, and it tastes amazing. In fact, I haven't eaten yet, so my mouth is watering a little bit. So, so think about it that way. Like what are going to be your biggest flavor bangs for the buck? And bacon's one of them. You just want the uncured version. Okay, so I'm going to head back over here. Let me just move this chat box out of the way. Okay, artificial sweeteners. So I'm not sure where artificial colors, I'm going to bring up another list here in a minute, but artificial sweeteners, flavors, colors. And I just always say those three together. Never, ever, ever is it okay to have anything with artificial sweeteners, flavors, and colors. Most supplements, a lot of like protein drinks, nutritional supplements, nutritional drinks, they have artificial flavors in them. And we take those things to improve our health. So why do we want to take something that has something artificial in it when we're expecting it to improve our health? So think about it that way. When you go to Costco and you buy that giant bag of protein powder, it says right on the front, artificial flavors. It also has artificial sweeteners. So it is a no-no. Get rid of it. Don't spend your money. The most expensive supplement is the one that either doesn't work or has crap in it. So you don't want to spend your money on that. So no artificial sweeteners. Now, the caveat to that is you have got to read those labels, because one of the biggest artificial sweeteners that sneaks in is, what's Splenda, you guys? Sucralose, okay? Not sucrose. Sucrose is sugar. Sucralose is Splenda. Splenda is the brand name. And when you eat that, what it does, so all of our hormones work like a lock and key. And so you have your lock, and the key comes in and it turns things on and it turns things off. When you take something like a hormone disruptor, like stevia, I'm sorry, not stevia, stevia's good, sucralose, what it does is it looks like, in this case, it looks like iodine. So iodine comes in with its lock and key, and it goes into the thyroid, and it turns things on and off, and it helps your hormones to function properly. But sucralose looks just like iodine. So it goes in, the key is exactly the same. It goes in, it locks up the hole, and it does not turn anything on or off. So now you got a problem. So sucralose kills your thyroid. If you have anything thyroid related, it is off limits, period. Listen, if you want to have a half teaspoon of sugar in your coffee, I would much rather have you do that than put these chemicals in. And I mean, sugar is its own chemical, but at least it's more natural. And I hope that makes sense. So going to the MSG, the monosodium glutamate, so that goes back to when we talked about seasoning packets, almost always in any seasoning packet, salad dressings, marinades. When you buy pre-made salad dressings in a bottle, probably has MSG in it, probably has sugar in it, olive oil, salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic, maybe some lemon juice, or, just simple, keep it simple. You don't need, and those things are expensive, the bottled stuff. So also when you're trying to save money on your food, you start adding this stuff up. And you'll find that this stuff is really expensive, far more expensive than just putting a little bit of olive oil and lemon juice on your salad. Bouillons, canned foods, canned soups, that all has MSG in it. Bouillon, like we've all heard of chicken bouillon, and like autolyzed yeast extract. I also have another list that tells you all the forms of monosodium glutamate. It sneaks into everything. It can be listed as just spices. It can be listed as flavorings. It does not have to have any particular, doesn't have to label what it is, really. So if you see something with spices, you're like, oh, it's got spices in it. Okay, well, it's probably a flavor enhancer. You guys remember that accent? Anybody remember accent flavoring? That's 100% MSG. It'll say it right on the thing. Don't use that. Throw that away. Okay, so here's our high fructose corn syrup, hydrogenated oils. Hydrogenated oils cause you to have what I call crunchy cells. So it dehydrates your cells and makes them brittle. And we need our cells to be like little water balloons, because there's a lot of transfer of nutrients and fluids that go in and out of the cell. But when they get crunchy, like think of a sponge that's sat on your sink for a few days and it gets dry and brittle. That's how your cells function when you have hydrogenated oils. And then it takes a little while to hold it under the water and get it hydrated again. So critical, making sure that your oils are higher quality oils. So with olive oil, coconut oil is also okay, but oils should also be limited. We can't overindulge in our oils, but we need to make sure the oils that we do have are higher quality. Nitrates, sulfates, those are all carcinogenic, so they cause cancer. Non-fat, low-fat, anything, eat the fat. So most of the times when people have food allergies or sensitivities, we'll just take dairy, for example, or people think they're lactose intolerant. In 22 years of practicing functional medicine, I don't think I've ever had anybody that I've treated for lactose intolerance. That is just your body's inability to digest food properly. It's a gut issue. It's not a lactose issue. So when we look at things that are low fat and non-fat, especially with dairy, so now we have a full fat yogurt. And there's probably 4% fat in there or something. Then we go to the non-fat. When you take something out, you have to add something in. So when people have a dairy allergy, they're usually allergic to either one of the proteins, whey or casein in the dairy, or both, one or both, one or two or both. One or both. My grammar's not great today, so that's what happens when I go quickly. So when you take the fat out, you increase the allergenic proteins. So non-fat, low-fat, no good, because now you're just going to increase what your body's allergic to. And so we've got to make sure we stay on track with, again, the purest form is what's there, right? So, you know, when we start to alter, and then they take the fat out, then they add in gums in there, and it's like, it's just gross. So just eat the natural stuff. Minute anything. So I always love this, oatmeal and rice. It takes like 3 minutes. When you take whole oats and you put them in a pot with water, and I got rid of my microwave 2 years ago. I haven't missed it. My daughter, my teenager, she was 14 at the time. She refused to let me buy another microwave. She said, it's so bad for us. Let's see how long we can go without it. We haven't missed it. It's been great. So anyway, the oatmeal, you just take regular whole oats, throw it in a pot with water, and they cook as fast as minute oatmeal, and they taste better. So don't get duped into the minute thing. If you're like, hey, I got rice, oh my God, it takes 20 minutes to cook. Well, when I come home, I'm thinking about what I'm going to make when I get home. I throw the rice on first and I get that cooking. And then by the time I've cut up my vegetables or cooked everything else, it's done. So you just have to plan things a little bit properly. Same with microwave popcorn. Oh, clarify that. What's that? What do you mean? Like how terrible it is? So many chemicals? Yeah. Well, and they put the liner it's a BPA liner. So bisphenol, what is it? Bisphenol acetate or something like that. So this liner in the microwave popcorn causes cancer. So and we could like go off on this stuff. Okay, so canned fruits and vegetables. If you must buy something in a can, go organic. Now, I do make one exception in that sometimes canned tomatoes can make for a really quick, healthy meal, but you have to make sure the liner is BPA free. And you'll see that on the other side when we go into the what should we be having. You'll see that that's an okay thing to have, is the canned tomatoes. Yeah, canned tomatoes. So yeah, just make sure it's organic and BPA free. Now, I started canning my own tomatoes years ago, so that's what I use. And I know everybody's not going to take the time to can their own stuff, but if you do, it's, you know, that would be the healthiest option. Pop, fashion waters, juices, you know, we all know pop's not good for us. You know, if you're like, oh, I only have one a day, no, gotta go. And the fashion waters and juices, the reason I bring that up is because people will go, they're like, oh, Propel, and they grab a Propel and it's got artificial sweeteners in it, artificial flavors, but it says water, like it looks like a bottle of water. So you've got to be able to read that label and make sure that you know what's in it. So during COVID, canning jars. Listen, I had 3 bushel of tomatoes, and I almost couldn't find lids for my canning this year. It was tough, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, let's see where else we're going here. Come on. Sorry, I've got these screens up. Come on, there we go. Okay, so let's go into the yes things we should always have. And you see I have salt up there. If tomatoes just have the salt and other whole identifiable ingredients, yeah, for sure. Yep. Yeah, you just need to be able to read the ingredients. So that's all we're asking. But look at the can. The can's got to be BPA free. So Kroger has I forget what their brand, Simple Truth is the Kroger brand of chickpeas. And I had to buy those a couple of times. So I buy the organic chickpeas and I get them home and I opened it up. I was making hummus and the liner, it's a BPA liner. So I'm like, how can you have an organic? I would have rather bought non-organic chickpeas with a non-BPA cancer causing liner. So, you know, and I'm giving you guys a lot of stuff. I don't expect everybody to have all of these points down tomorrow. So it's a process as you go through this, but that's why the lists are so nice for everybody. Let's see, what is it? What about the can liners is that? Yes. So when you look and you see like, it'll look like white. There's like, it's kind of that waxy coating. Every time you go to Starbucks, that liner is a BPA liner. And every time they pour hot tea or hot coffee in there, it releases that and you drink it. I know, gross, right? It doesn't stop me from drinking Starbucks. I just don't drink it as often. And I detox my liver on a regular basis to make sure I'm getting those things out. So we can talk about detoxing later, but that's a big thing is also then if you're going to do something, how do you offset the compounding effects of that? So let's talk about sea salt for a minute. I'm gonna minimize the chat because it's blocking my screen here. Okay, so sea salt is so important. When you just have regular table salt, it is just sodium chloride. You've stripped away all the other minerals. You want salt in its whole entire natural source. So they scooped it out of the ocean, they took the water out and they put it into a jar. So that is called unrefined sea salt. And there are some brands out there that'll say sea salt on the front. And you turn it over and it's not unrefined, which means it's still been stripped. It's just sodium chloride. So you'll want to read the label on that as well. So it is the second major constituent in our body. It's required for almost all body processes, salt is. So sea salt should have 80 minerals and no toxic additives. That's a lot of minerals that you can get from that. If you're taking your sea salt, and I usually recommend like 2 teaspoons a day in some capacity over your food. Also making sure that you're eliminating all the other, like don't just like dump 2 teaspoons of sea salt and then not eliminate all the other garbage. But it can help with blood pressure, fatigue, adrenal disorders, cholesterol, headaches, immune system, and thyroid. Sea salt's critical for thyroid. And it will help to bring that thyroid back to life. Organic chicken stock, organic canned tomatoes, nut milks of any kind. Nut milks are super easy to make. When you buy them in the store, they have additives and they put those gums in there. So you got to read the label. Does it have a gum in there? What's in here? Did they add sugar? Half a cup of whatever your favorite nut is to 2 cups of water, blend it. Boom, done. If you're using raw cashews, make sure you're using raw nuts, not roasted. If you're using raw cashews, you don't have to put it through a strainer. If you're making almond milk, you could do a nut bag and it'll strain out the nuts. But I think unless you're using it for your coffee or so, like if you're going to use nut milk and put it in oatmeal, then don't strain it. Use the almond pieces, and that would be pretty awesome. Organic chicken stock. I'm going to give you a quick story on this. I couldn't find the organic chicken stock I usually buy from Costco that is just organic chicken stock. And there's no, it's just the vegetables and the chicken. And I couldn't find it. And I was at Whole Foods and I went through every organic box that they had and they all had sugar. And I was like, why are they putting sugar in my chicken stock? Like, keep your sugar out of my chicken stock. But this is the American palate. This is why we are so desensitized to sugar. There's 80% of our foods have hidden sugars in them. So that was just like so upsetting to me. When I make chicken soup, I'll use sweet onions and I'll use carrots and I'll use vegetables that have a natural sweetness to give me the flavor. I don't need to dump sugar in there. So watch for those kinds of hidden things because it can be really it can really be overwhelming as how much sugar you're taking in. What about all the liner and box soups and broths? Some of them will say BPA free. If it says BPA free, I'll buy it. If it doesn't, I won't because I don't know unless I got it home and I opened it up. So let's see, where's the coconut aminos? Great replacement for soy sauce. Can't tell the difference exactly. And I've got the Bragg's liquid aminos. I'm just a junkie for those. I've used them for years. A little squirt in anything, soup, salad dressings, or anything you're using soy sauce for, amazing. And it doesn't have the soy and it doesn't have the chemicals in there. And herbs, herbs are excellent for helping our bodies with inflammation. So use them as much as possible. They will, they make things flavorful without adding garbage. So you want to think about how many different things can I bring together to make my food as flavorful as possible. And I mean, we're coming off of summer, so take your herbs. If you still have anything drying outside, I still have a ton. My oregano will grow in through December, and then it starts growing in March. So I'm not without herbs for too long. Rosemary also has a lot of staying power. So more good stuff. Vinegars of any kind. Now, be careful here. Keep going back to the labels. So vinegars are nothing more than overly fermented grapes or fruits. And so sometimes what will happen is you'll turn the label over and you'll see on there grape must. And it's a additive that they'll put that in wines, they put that in vinegars, and it gives it a different flavor because you want to think about it like they couldn't get the flavor out of the natural product, so they had to add garbage to it to fool you into thinking it tastes good. So one of my favorite places to buy vinegars is up at oh gosh, what's the store up in Milford? The kitchen store. Somebody dropped that down there in the chat. Come on, help me out. I want to say Home Goods. It's not Home Goods. Acorn Farms. Thank you. Yes, I knew somebody would come up with that. Okay, so Acorn Farms has that wall of vinegars. They're all natural vinegars. They're amazing. If you buy a peach vinegar, though, the peaches have actually been pressed and fermented, so it's real stuff in there, and that's what you want. Freezing summer herbs in an ice cube tray, yes. So I used to do that, and that would then I became lazy. I literally take all my herbs now and I throw them into a Ziploc bag and I freeze them. Just like my basil, like I wash it, dry it, straight into a Ziploc bag. I've actually found that freezing it like that, and when I pull it out, it still tastes like fresh basil. It doesn't look like it, it turns black. But yeah, so I just did that because I got lazy and I was like, oh, I wonder how this will work. Great. Dill, same thing. Boom, straight into a Ziploc bag. I don't even bother with because I had too many herbs for ice cube trays. So just another idea if you're like, yeah, I'm kind of lazy like that too. Because you get like preserving food can be really overwhelming. Okay, oils of any kind, stick with your purest forms, extra virgin, cold pressed, avoiding corn and soy, very inflammatory, and usually always from genetically modified grains. We want to keep all those GMOs out of our system. It's one of those things we just don't know. Things that have been genetically modified, if we just look at wheat, for example, and why people are so allergic to gluten is, way back, 50, 60, 70 years ago, they hybridized it. So they didn't call it genetically modifying it. But farmers didn't want to wait for their grain to get 6 feet tall before they could harvest it. So they hybridized it so they could get the same yield in like a 3-foot plant. And then they would harvest it. The problem with that is that the genetic makeup of the plant changed, and our bodies haven't caught up with it. So when people, this is why, is gluten intolerance a thing? It's definitely a thing because your genetics just haven't caught up to it. When you eat it, it wrecks you. And even, people can have an allergy or a sensitivity to it. And it's just something just to be cautious of. Brown or wild rice, I love rice. We're Middle Eastern, so we grew up, eating rice all the time. And so that's, one of our go-tos is rice. Also, if you make too much of it, you can freeze it. It freezes beautifully. Gluten-free pastas. I'm steering most of this talk to gluten-free items. That doesn't mean go buy a ton of gluten-free stuff, because that stuff has tapioca starch and potato starch, and so super high in high glycemic, meaning it's going to push your blood sugar if you eat them. So you want to be careful not to sway to that end either. These are just my preferences. If you like a good, there's a bread company out of Traverse City. They sell it at Kroger. It's amazing. They have the best sourdough bread. They naturally ferment the sourdough. It's all organic. I'm buying that because it's in its purest form. So things like that is, those are just those shifts that you want to make. Fresh garlic. If you buy garlic out of the jar, that minced garlic, please go throw that away, please. It's so horrible. I don't even know if it's garlic in there. And it's so far removed from the real flavor of garlic that it doesn't even, right? Jen's laughing. Yeah, it's like, does it even taste like garlic? I don't even know. Like, it's gross. So if you're lazy like me, you go and you buy the pre-peeled garlic. Now, nothing takes the place of a fresh clove of garlic that you have to peel yourself. But when I make my salsa in the fall, we just canned like, I don't know, 80 jars of salsa. I'm buying the bag of pre-peeled garlic because I am not going to sit there and peel garlic. But if I just have 1 or 2 cloves that I want to peel, I'm going for that straight, fresh. Give it a smash. Garlic press is on my list of things to have in your kitchen. And you will, I promise you, you will be so much happier. You're going to be like, I've been missing out all these years. What's that stupid garlic I've been buying? So buy the fresh stuff, and buy it peeled if you're lazy like me. Okay, fresh fruits and vegetables. Obviously, our first choice is fresh, locally grown, organic. If you go to the farmer's market and you buy broccoli that came from a farm 30 miles away and they sprayed once in the spring, that's actually, when you think about the footprint of it, it's way better than going to Whole Foods and buying a head of organic garlic, broccoli, I got garlic on the brain, that came from California. Okay, so now we start thinking about things in a little different direction. This one's nutrients are probably has more nutrients. By the time that other one came from California, those nutrients have dissipated a little bit. So, you know, there's some things in there you go, well, I might eat something not organic because it only came from 30 minutes away and it was picked this morning. Those are some of the choices that I will make. My second choice would be frozen organic. I don't have on here. Actually, I should put my second choice is buy it fresh, local, organic if possible, can it myself, freeze it myself. And if I can't do that, then buy it frozen organic. So I'm going to change that for the next one because that's really my favorite. When I make salsa and tomato sauce and I open a jar up in the middle of winter, I know that those they were picked that morning, the tomatoes and all the vegetables, and they went right from the farm into a jar, which is awesome. I can't buy a fresh tomato. You guys know what it's like trying to buy a tomato in the middle of winter, right? It's horrible. So I have fresh tomatoes all year round is the way I look at it. Okay, so more must-have. Seeds, nuts, seeds, great for snacking, great in salads, great in, you know, put them in soups. You could, you know, sprinkle like pine nuts over a piece of fish. They just, again, adding more nutrition and flavor to things. Pine nuts are really expensive, but they're really flavorful. So just a few little sprinkles and that one little pop of the pine nut, amazing. Fresh organic chicken, grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish. Local, again, if you can buy these things local. I have sourced for organic chicken, for grass-fed beef. I don't have one for wild-caught fish. I wish I did. But anyway, so again, trying to buy local, those are going to be your biggest things. If not, then you would want to, you know, go for the organic version and keeping it as local as possible. So Whole Foods has their Pine Manor brand, and it comes from a farm right, I think it's just over in Indiana. So very local in the middle of winter if I can't get fish from or chicken from my local gal out in Kensington. I put rice crackers and chips because most of the time when I put people on a detox, they're like, I need a crunch, I need something. And the rice crackers are really nice because you could do, you know, hummus with them, and you can do guacamole and feel like you're having some normalcy in the middle of a detox when we're trying to eliminate a lot of these allergenic foods. Good dark chocolate. See, you guys love me now? Okay, so people think I'm crazy when I say go spend $8 on a bar of chocolate because it's going to be pure as you can possibly get it. You know, there's a brand, it's called Human Brand, that I discovered at Whole Foods. And oh my God, if anybody's had it, please let me know. It's the best. Every bar, I've spent a lot of money on good chocolate. This one is the absolute best. And they have all these different flavors with almond butter and cashew butter and hazelnuts, and so good. So definitely good dark chocolate. When you have, let me tell you the secret to chocolate. I know people who are like, I'll eat a whole bag of Hershey's Kisses. And I'll go, that's not even chocolate. How does it even, it's straight up sugar. It's gross. When you have a good piece of dark chocolate, you put that in your mouth, you let it melt, you let it hit the roof of your mouth, and it hits all of the places in the brain required to give you that happy craving. So you've got to eat, if you're just like mowing down Hershey's Kisses, it's not going to do it. But your brain requires it requires the need. Yeah, Tazo's really good too, Sue. It requires you to give it time to catch up to the craving. So when you move it slowly in your mouth, you hit the roof of your mouth. Now your brain's like, oh, that's what we wanted. And it doesn't keep pushing you for more. It's very satisfied and it won't send you for more cravings. So I hope that makes sense. So savor it, right? Savor it. A little glass of red wine on the side, right? Told you I'm not all evil. Let's see, make sure you freeze your nuts so they don't go rancid. Yes, agreed on that for sure. Popcorn, once in a while, make sure it's organic. I love popcorn, I do. So, but again, make sure it's the organic popcorn. I just threw this slide in here real quick. How do you put a meal together? Because we're all busy people, aren't we? And we've got to make sure that we're still eating healthy and serving our family something healthy, and not just really taking care of who we are and our ability to raise a healthy family. So I just put this in here because I'm like, I just think about it as I need a protein, I need a vegetable, I need a side. Last night I grilled chicken, organic, and grass-fed beef, and I roasted broccoli, and that was dinner, and it was like amazing. So you think about your dinners that way. What are the things I can put together? If you take your chicken, so I buy chickens from a woman out, it's called Foster, it's not Foster Farms, it's Debbie Foster is her name. I'll get you guys the name of it. She's got chickens, she's got turkeys. And so when I buy my chickens, I buy whole chickens from her. They literally come right from the processor. I get them from her in a bag, not frozen, and I take them home and I butcher them up even more. So I freeze them in small quantities and in pieces that I pull right out of the freezer and I put it right on the grill or in a pan. My grass-fed beef, I patty everything up. I freeze them in patties, pull them out, put them right on the grill or in a pan. So easy ways. And then you can buy your fish. Like if you go to Whole Foods, you can get individually frozen fillets of fish. Again, it goes from freezer to pan very easily, very quickly, and it cooks beautifully. So those are really easy ways to make sure that, oh, I didn't thaw out something. Nope, you don't have to. Cooks up super easily. Linda, you want to clarify that message? Okay, so how do we get started, you guys? So I gave this workshop 15 years ago. It was my first time I gave it. And there was a young woman there, and she was very overweight. She was probably a good 100 pounds overweight. And this was my strategy. I said, I want you to, I just trying to move that chat out of the way there. Okay. I said, I want everybody to go home, get a large trash can. Now the list that I have, the yes, yes, always, and the no, never, not, no ways things you have, they are more in depth than what I gave you today. I just gave you the high points. So when you'll get those lists and you'll go, oh yeah, I'm going to take everything in my cabinet, in my cupboard that has everything no, not, no way. So you're going to get a garbage can. Anything that's on that list, you're going to toss it, recycle or keep. I always say, don't give the poisonous stuff to somebody unless you really don't like them. So, and we don't really want to give the garbage stuff to a food pantry. Like, let's give food pantries good, healthy stuff too. And then you'll go out and you're going to go grocery shopping and you're going to buy all the good stuff on the good list. And then you're going to fill your cabinet with that. And the last thing is you got to get over it, because we spend money on things we shouldn't all the time. But this stuff is actually making you sick, keeping you sick, and killing you slowly. So understand that even just a little bit, we do a little bit of something every single day that is taking us faster to the grave. So let's stop doing that. Let's live our lives with full vitality as long as we can, living off of the beautiful foods that we have from nature and not have to eat things out of a box. And listen, if you're like, hey, I'm really getting frustrated reading all these labels, then you're eating too much out of a box. Put the box down, go to the fresh food aisle, okay? That's just one way to do it. This is one of my favorite sayings, just start somewhere. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. You've got to start somewhere. So even if you just start with label reading, if you have questions, please reach out to me. I will help guide you through this. I promise you when you start this process, your grocery bill will go down because you're not spending money on processed foods that are not only expensive to your wallet, but expensive to your health. And that translates into so many other things as well. This is my information. So you guys want the food yeses and nots list. If you're interested in nutritional coaching and gut health testing, then please, by all means, go ahead and send me an email and I'll drop those lists for you. I want to leave you with one story and then I'll answer that coffee question. But when I was growing up, my mom was a single mom. My parents divorced when I was like 2 or 3. I don't remember them being together. But my mom had to go out and work, and she became she was an excellent seamstress. So she went out and she started a company. She called it Ties for Guys, Sally's Ties for Guys. She made custom-made neckties for men, and she would go out. She would sell the ties that she made during the day. And she would come home. We would always have a hot meal ready for us when, you know, she'd get home about 3, 4 o'clock, right about the time we were getting home from school. We always had dinner. We would have dinner. She'd go down in the basement and then she would sew all night long. We'd get up in the morning. She had breakfast made for us, a sack lunch, a homemade lunch to take to school. And we'd do this. So it was never an option for her. She was a busy single mom trying to raise 4 kids. And she did it successfully. So my lesson in all of that was like, you know, if she could do it back then and she didn't have any of the conveniences, these conveniences today, it's not okay. Like think about what you're doing for yourself and for your family. And what she did back then, she set my future, right? She gave me that inspiration to do something bigger and better and eat healthy and be healthy. And then of course, now I'm here sharing this lesson on with you guys. So, so thank you all so much for listening. And let's see, good stuff, totally aligned with it. Been following it for many, many years. Everyone needs to know about this. Thank you so much. Thank you, Linda Heiduck and Linda Crawford. Appreciate you guys. Oh, coffee choices. Coffee's very moldy. So it's, did somebody open up there? Okay, hold on. I got something coming in my ear. Coffee's really moldy. If you can buy mold-free coffee, great. Always buy it organic. But if you have some kind of food allergy, if you think you have candida or a gut issue, you've got to have coffee that the beans have not been allowed to get moldy. Teas can get moldy too. So yeah, just watch for that. Awesome. Does anybody have any questions for me?
I have a couple.
Awesome. Go.
So I have 2 questions. One, does your body become more sensitive to salt as we age? Because I feel like mine has. Like I used to eat canned soup all the time. I cannot even put it in my mouth.
Interesting.
I just feel like I'm just wondering if that's maybe something that I've stopped eating and now my body doesn't tolerate it, or am I just getting old and I can't tolerate it?
Okay, first of all, that O word, we don't use the O word. You know, I wonder when you say to me canned soups, it makes me wonder if you're more sensitive to the chemicals in the soups. And they do put a lot of salt in those soups.
Right.
So,
I don't eat it anymore, but I'm saying like, okay, like soy sauce is another one. It takes me 2 days. I don't eat it anymore because it's ridiculous. My whole face.
Oh, puffy. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what that is as we get older. I mean, different people get sensitive to different things, so I can't really answer that. But,
okay.
I would say too, though, are you drinking enough water?
All day long.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, and then the other thing too, and not to get too technical, but you should have a certain amount of fluid in your body as well as in your cells, and you could have an off-balance fluid distribution. So I do testing in my office to see where the fluid distribution in your body is. You could have, we talked about the cells wanting to be like water balloons. Yours could be shriveled like raisins. So we want a nice full grape, or it could be a shriveled raisin. So we could test for that too. So isn't it great?
And one other question about wine.
Yes.
Because we were talking about wine. Like I am really sensitive to tannins in wine, and I just ordered organic sulfate and I guess, I don't know about tannin, but sulfate free wine. I'm waiting for that. What do you think of that?
So that's really what I try to drink if I'm going to have wine, is I try to stick with organic. You know, Dan next door at the winery, they don't add sulfates to their wines. I personally, I can't do sugar with alcohol because that affects me as well. So again, if we're going to drink, you know, we don't drink for our good health, right? But we do know if we have a certain cocktail, it might affect us a certain way. So just try to keep it as pure as possible. I love tequila for that. You know, I'm a big tequila girl. It's so clean and it's tasty. It doesn't have the same impact on your brain. And of course, not a ton of it, but you know, it's so yeah. So I try to treat my alcohols the way I treat my food. So Linda asked, how can we tell if our coffee is moldy? It is a whole bean situation, and you wouldn't know because that's how it would come to the roaster. It may have gotten moldy, let's say, sitting in trucks before it got to the roaster. And then once it gets to the roaster, they would just roast it. They don't clean it off of there. But there are companies out there, you can Google it, mold-free coffee, and they will actually make sure that their beans get to them without getting moldy. So there, you can find it on, I don't think I've ever seen it in a store. You just have to look it up online. If you do find it locally, let me know. I'd prefer to buy it locally. So
I would trust the GM Proving Ground coffee. He roasts his own beans.
Yes, you know what? You're right. Yeah. So actually, that'd be a great question to ask him is, you know, to find out how he gets his beans, where they come from. That'd be a good conversation to have with him. Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah. I bet he's a great source.
His coffee is amazing. And that's the thing too, is they're the first place around here that I've ever seen that had oat milk. I don't like almond milk. So I'm like, love the oat milk, you know, and they're using all organic ingredients. Really, you know, you can tell when people are really taking care of what they're serving to you. Yeah. And teas can be the same way. Teas can get moldy as well. Anybody else? You can just chime in too if you want, if you got a question. Nobody? Well, that's it?
Well, I will tell you all, thank you so much, Paula. And
thank you.
You know, you can interrupt me if you have a question. I'm going to tape this, or it is taped and it will be up if you want to go back and look at things. And if Paula, if you want to send me your information, I can send it out to all of you, and anybody else that's watching this after the fact, let me know and I can send it to you, or you can contact Paula Ruffin at the New Hudson Chiropractic Wellness Center. I really appreciate this. It's, I think I'm doing okay on some of it.
Right. I know. Well, as I said, it's a process. There's still some things that, you know, I do or I don't do, or I get caught and I'm like, oh, I got duped. Like the chicken stock. I got duped on that. Right. So, yeah. So you guys can find me at New Hudson Chiropractic on Facebook. Dr. Paula Ruffin will be my new public figure page that I'm going to start to build out. And if you want those lists, you can email doc@drruffin.com. Thank you all. It's been so fun. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everyone. Okay. If you have follow-up questions, hit me up on Facebook or shoot an email. I'm happy to answer those for you. Great. All right. See you guys.